thank you so much to everyone for coming out tonight. And a big thank you, of course, to the Marblehead Democratic Town Committee, the Swampscott Democratic Town Committee, and the Lynn Democratic City Committee for putting on this virtual meet and greet. For those who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting before tonight, my name is Tristan Smith, and I'm one of the candidates hoping to be your next state representative for the 8th Essex District. So a little bit about me. I was born and I've lived my entire life in this district. I graduated from Swampscott High School in 2014. I graduated summa cum laude from Salem State University in 2018 with a degree in, you guessed it, political science. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but in less than a month from today, I will walk across the stage and get my Juris Doctor from Suffolk University Law School, which I'm obviously very, very excited about. So why now? Why did I look at this open seat and say this is the time that I can serve this district? I think anyone who knows me knows that public service has been sort of a tradition in my family. My father, Jimmy Smith, was a state rep from West Lynn back in the 70s. And my cousin, Stephen Walsh, was a state rep for Lynn and Nahant in 2005 to about 2014. Additionally, my aunt, Deborah Smith Walsh, was a city councilor in Lynn, as well as on the Lynn School Committee. But beyond just being a state representative, what's really important to me is the opportunity to be a state representative for this district. Lynn is not only the city that my father served, it's the city where my mother and father met. Marblehead is the town where my older siblings, Haley and Andrew, grew up. And Swampscott is the town where me and my younger sister, Chloe, grew up. These are the communities that I know. I know the people, I know the problems. I've been personally affected by these issues. And that's why it's so important to me to be a state representative for this district. So what are those issues that I feel are most important for this election? Well, the first one for me, and you're going to hear this throughout this campaign, is the climate and the environment. We're facing a climate crisis, and as an entirely seaside district, lucky us, we're some of the first people in the state, in the country, and on the planet that might have to see some of climate change's most devastating effects. And of course, any climate initiative that I support is going to have a just transition for workers who are displaced, as well as for their families. And I think one of the big ways that we can combat climate change is by investing differently in our public transportation. And that's why it's another key issue of this campaign. I don't have to tell anyone in this Zoom how hard it is to get from here to Boston, or frankly anywhere, especially without a car. But we have a unique opportunity to not only make our public transportation better, more consistent, and more efficient, but we can also do so in a green way. And let's never talk about public transportation without talking about social justice, because that's exactly what public transportation is. It's access. It's access to healthcare. It's access to housing. It's access to jobs. It's access to education. Education, which is another one of my key points. I'm a personal beneficiary of some of the best public education in the world. But for far too many, public higher ed is unaffordable and inaccessible. Additionally, I have the unique experience of being the only candidate in this race, and maybe the only person in this Zoom, who's been both a student and a teacher on Zoom during the COVID-19 pandemic. That gives me a really unique perspective. And as someone who's worked in the schools and worked with teachers, I think I know how to craft policy to get our kids back into classrooms safely while making sure we can make up for any lost learning that is entirely possible from 1 to 2 years going from in-person to virtual. I think we can all agree on that. Obviously, there are so many more important issues. It's taking care of our veterans who gave us so much and asked for so little. It's comprehensive criminal justice reform that keeps people out of the system, and when they do get involved in it, isn't a revolving door. It's affordable housing so that my friends can afford to move back to these neighborhoods that we call our hometowns. And there's so many others that I don't have time to talk about right now, but are equally important. But what I think is really, really a key point of how I view the state representative position is I think that they wear two hats. And the first is sort of looking at these issues on the macro level, the big picture. And that means supporting, championing, and voting for these progressive policies that move the entire Commonwealth forward. But the second, and this one I think is really important for this district, is someone who's able to be that neighborhood rep. who knows the people, who knows the players, who knows the history, who knows the problems, and knows how to effectively translate and advocate for us on Beacon Hill. And that's where I really think I can shine in particular. That's a little bit about me in a pretty big nutshell. This is the district where I was a student and an athlete, then a teacher and now a coach. And now I want to be its state representative. I'm going to leave it there. I really look forward to some questions, and I really look forward to meeting more of you virtually or in person throughout the campaign trail.
Terrific. Thank you, Tristan. So
Thanks.
folks, raise your hand if you'd like to ask Tristan a question, please.
This is what it was like being a teacher on Zoom, by the way. I know someone has a question.
There's nothing in chat.
Jennifer Martell.
Hi, Tristan. I was with your friend Jared Solomon the other night. I know you went to high school with Jared.
Elementary school and middle school as well.
Yeah, he told me that.
We go way back.
So I would have asked the other candidates this. For me, this is just a really personal issue. And I know that we're very fortunate to live in this state with the Roe Act. I just want to know that you are committed to the Roe Act and to, a continued protection of reproductive rights with everything that's going on.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely committed to the Roe Act. Reproductive rights is an extremely important issue. And I think the Roe Act, not to go off topic to your question, but I think it's a great example of how this state has been able to codify things to protect us from what's happening in the Supreme Court. So it is so important to keep the Roe Act and protect it. And it's so important to be ready as legislators, to be ready to put in more protections if the Supreme Court strikes down more of the protections that we've been enjoying so far. So thank you so much. That's a really good question.
Thanks, Tristan.
I see Judith Black has her hand raised. Judith?
Hi, Tristan. So I'm sure you know that the culture of our state house is not one that is decorated with much transparency, and that the speaker has a huge amount of power. And if you are not in the speaker's good graces, your bills don't get to the floor, you don't get staffers. It is hard. And I'm just
I think you may have cut out there. I don't know if
Yeah,
anyone
I think
else
we
got
actually
that.
lost her, Tristan, but I think you get the gist of her question.
I got the gist of the question for sure. I think the transparency is absolutely a really important point. I'm really glad that you bring that up. One of the things that I'm going to do as a state rep is I'm going to lead by example. And that means putting my committee votes on my website, very easy to find. You don't have to go searching for a bill number. We'll put the simple title of the bill, the sponsors, and how I voted in committee. And another thing about it is you'll be able to ask me why. That's the type of rep that I want to be. There's no one in this Zoom who's going to agree with me 100% of the time, not one person. I think my mom is on, so maybe her, but other than that, no one's going to agree with me 100% of the time. But just know that if I am your state rep, you will have a state rep where you can call up and always ask, so Tristan, what happened there? Because I looked at it this, and this way, and you voted the other way. And you'll have someone who'll be able to explain to you why. And I'm a man of principle, and that's going to inform my votes.
And I think we have one more person that would like to ask a question, Gordon Corsi.
It's actually Carolyn who's asking the question.
Okay.
I'm wondering what you have to say about transportation. There was recently a discussion about connecting MBT access to Marblehead and linking it with affordable housing. And I wonder what you might say about all of that.
Absolutely. So there's a lot in that little question. I'm glad that you asked it the way that you did, because there's a lot to work with. I think, Marblehead in particular in this district has a particularly tough situation with the MBTA because Swampscott has a commuter rail stop and Lynn has a commuter rail stop, but Marblehead doesn't. And the bus used to go all the way to Boston, but now you have to make a transfer at Wonderland, and it's just much more of a situation. So I'm very supportive of efforts for more affordable housing in general, and I think that coupling them with public transportation makes perfect sense for all the reasons that I stated before. Public transportation is so much more than getting from point A to point B. It's if point A is home and point B is a job or daycare or school, that's so much more than just what it sounds like. So I think that's a really, really good question, and I'm very excited to look into more opportunities for bringing Marblehead in with the rest of the district. Not that the rest of the district has it that great. Don't get me wrong. There's not much parking at the Swampscott commuter rail station, but having us all grow together in that